games are commonly played by the Filipino children with the great use of the native materials. The games entail physical strength and endurance and boost immune system at the same time. Playing with others develop the social characteristic, increases communication skills, and confidence that are vital in the stage development. It is healthy and strongly promote our cultural cases of identity as well. Patintero is traditional Filipino children games and one of the most popular outdoor games played by children here in the Philippines. Patintero is derived from Spanish word tente, tent or ink, and references to the drone lines. Another name for it is tubigan, tubiganay, or tubig-tubig or water game. Harangang taga or harang taga, block and catch. Lump-lumpas in Igorot, sabatan in Kapampangan, sinibon or serbab in Ilocano, and tadlas for 4 players or biros-biros for 6 players in Eastern Visayas.
Patintero is played on a rectangular grid drawn into the ground. It is subdivided into 4 to 6 equal parts by drawing a central lengthwise line and then 1 or 2 crosswise lines. 2 teams are needed, each with around 2 to 6 players. One team acts as the taggers, and the other acts as the runner. The object of the game is to cross the rectangle back and forth without getting tagged. Taggers can only move along their respective lines, with the exception of the tagger on the first line, who is regarded as the team leader or known as the patutut can also move along the central lengthwise line. Tagging a runner when none or only 1 foot is contacting the line is not counted. Runners can cross at any time and to any adjacent square. However, they can only exit the playing rectangle at both ends of the rectangle. Once a runner is tagged, they are out and will sit out the match until the next game. Teams score points when they complete Isanggabi, a full circuit of the playing rectangle from one end to the others and back again. Once all the runners have been tagged, the team reverse rows, with the taggers now becoming the runners and vice versa. In some versions of the game, the match ends if even only 1 runner is tagged. In others, this only applies if the patutut of the team is tagged. In modern versions, there is also sometimes a time limit for how long runners can attempt to score points. The match ends once the time is up regardless if no points have been scored. Goal of the game. The object of the game is to cross the rectangle back and forth without getting tagged. Terms to be familiarized. Bangon, players, taya, defenders or taggers. Tubig, leaders yell if any bangon member reaches the B-safe area. Sanggabi, if bangon member safely reaches the B-safe area then home to A-safe area. Rules and regulations. Number of player. Played by an even number of people. 4 to 8 members, the more the merrier, but it gets more difficult to win. Played outdoor. Patutut or middleman is optional. Usually played at night when the moon is bright, but players could play anytime. Materials or equipment needed: charcoal, chalk, water, flat ground for playing.
Most children of today's generation don't know this kind of game anymore. Almost of them are already hooked with addictive computer games. If they only know that even if they get toasted in the sun, soaking wet with perspiration, it is worth playing and it has more fun to offer than just killing zombies and a fake blood.
Agawan base literally means capturing base. It is played by 2 teams with a minimum of 3 players for each team. The bases is usually marked by digging a shallow hole, about 10 in diameter, and place something like beach sandals, or shirt, or towel, or anything to it to make the base visible to the all players. The object of the game is for one team to try and capture the base of the other by reaching the other's home base first and tagging a pre-decided item, a tree trunk, a rock, etc., symbolizing the opposite team, without getting tagged by the defending members of the opposite team. 4. Terms to be familiarized. 1. POW, Prisoner. 2. HQ Headquarters or Base. 3. Home Base, Safety Zone. Rules and regulations. 1. A safety line is drawn between the 2 teams. A member of an opposing team who crosses the safety line into the territory of the other team can be chased and tagged by the team that owns that base. 2. If the attacker gets tagged before she manages to get back to her safety zone or home base, she becomes a prisoner POW of the opposite team. 3. She can be rescued by her teammates if one of her teammates manage to get close to the base and tag the POW without getting tagged herself by the guard or one of the defenders in the opposing team. How is the Agawan base played? 1. Look for a stone that will represent as your HQ base. Gather all team members around your base. Make sure that everyone's foot is connected to the stone HQ base. Your goal is to capture all members of the enemy and then steal their HQ base. 2. There are 2 bases, each base has equal number of members. There will be one person assigned to guard the base. The others may leave the base to run and try to catch another member of the other team or to try to steal the opponent's base. 3. If you touch the base of your opponent first, before members of that team tag you, you steal their base and your team wins. 4. Another main goal is to catch as many of the opponents as your team can. A captive opponent becomes a prisoner and stands on the captor's base until a member of his own team saves him by tagging him. Once he is tagged and saved, the prisoner is freed and goes back to his base. 5. The game can be as small scale as teams just facing each other and trying to tap the opponents to catch them, or as large as team members hiding and strategizing whom to catch first. For example, the weakest links are the slowest runners. 6. If there are no more members at large, meaning all opponents have been captured, all members of the stronger team will have to try and get the base from the guard by tagging it. The one left must try not to leave the base lest it be overtaken by the opponents. In this case, the stronger team wins.
Tombong preso or knock down the prisoner, also known as tumbalata or knock down the can, or batulata or hit the can with a stone, is a traditional Filipino children's game. It is usually played in backyards, parks, or in the street, wherein this is a little vehicular. Tombang preso is one of the most popular Filipino games also. The it is guarding a can with his slipper on top and the other upright position. The it can only tag a player when his team is not its upright position. The knocking down of the can is a way for the other players to recover and go back to base without being tagged easily. Goal of the game. The objective of this game is to avoid being an it. Terms to be familiars. Pamato, slippers could be a medium size or wrapped wooden or shoe or a shoe. Then taya, it's a defenders or tuggers.
The equipment needed is an empty milk can or any kind of can or bottle, and a slipper or the piece of flat stone as the pamato for each player. To make the game enjoyable and exciting, there should be no more than 9 players. One player or the taya, the IT, guards the milk can while the others stay behind the 2 line with their pamatos. The objective is for the players to hit and knock down the milk can with the pamato, and for the IT to put back the can into the small circle a few meters away from the 2 line. When the player is tagged while covering their pamato, they become the IT.
Rules and regulations. The number of players, 5 or 6, represented by the squares in the diagram. The game is played outdoor. Third, if the player misses that his pamato cue ends up somewhere, he needs to retrieve the pamato without being tagged and comes back to the starting line where he can aim again. He can only be tagged while the milk can is its normal standing position and the player successfully passes the starting line without being tagged. See tag area anywhere from the starting point to the circle. Anybody in the tag area is subject to become IT as long as the milk can is in its position. How is tombang preso played? First, on the ground, draw a starting line as shown, about 12 to 15 feet away. Draw a circle about 4 to 5 feet in diameter. Second is to determine who is the initial IT or the taya. There are 2 possible options. First is all participants gather around the circle. Everyone flips the milk can 1 turn into the air about a foot high and let it come down in normal position. It's very difficult to make the milk can land on the other end so that it's standing when it comes down. The one who fails to make it come down standing becomes the IT. Second, everybody stand at the circle from the baseline. Each will try to flip the slippers to the starting line as the nearest as possible to avoid being an IT. Failure to do so becomes the IT. The IT then puts the empty can in the middle of the circle. The stands near the circle, so see the triangle in the diagram. Fourth, the IT stands by the circle, so see triangle in the diagram. All other players stand behind the starting line, so see the diagram. This player aims to hit the milk can in the middle of the circle, and the game